are you this evening? Thank you for joining us, and on behalf of the Holly Springs Readers Theater Troupe, I'd like to welcome you to the Holly Springs Cultural Center. By our reckoning, this is about our 7th time taking this stage. We started a few years ago, a group made up of your neighbors and friends and maybe even some of your family members who really have a shared love of literature and like to hear it spoken aloud, and in fact like to be the people that do the speaking of it aloud. And so we got together with our amateur talents and decided, I think we started with an evening with Gene Shepard. And if you remember Shep, he used to be on the radio, very much like we're going to be again tonight. We also have had a couple of nights of literature. We had a show that was a tribute to Broadway, classics and musicals, which was written and directed by one of our own called Break a Leg. A couple of years ago, we took you back in time to 1938 to the War of the Worlds Panic broadcast. Generally, we've been having a grand time. And if you've been with us for any of those, thank you. And if this is your first time attending a Reader's Theater, a word about that, if I may. Typically, when I'm sitting where you're sitting, when we're sitting as an audience here to see a play, when that curtain opens, it's as if there was an invisible wall between us and the people who come onto the stage and start exchanging dialogue and living out their lives, seemingly oblivious to the fact that you and I are here watching them. Well, when we open the curtain in just a few moments, we're going to punch right through that wall. We know you're there, and thank you for being there. But we're going to address you directly, and that allows us to put different forms of literature on stage, narrative fiction and other kinds of things like I just mentioned. So we really have a lot of fun with this. We're part of a growing group as Holly Springs continues to grow. There's a new group that's just formed called Holly Springs Stageworks Theater, and they just are getting started. Oh, we know them, yeah. And in fact, if you were just here to see the show that they just closed, Always a Bridesmaid, were any of you there to see it? No, good for you. Hopefully you laughed as hard as I did. It was a side splitter, and it set records here for community theater in terms of attendance. And so not bad beginning. In fact, when we're off the stage, now this is our second night, we'll be here again next Thursday and Friday night, but once we close up, then they will have the stage again April 6th and 7th, and they're going to take all the seats and the bleachers that you're on right now and shove them back against that wall, and the theater is going to expand. So they're going to put on a show called Holly Springs Got Talent and Murder. It's a murder mystery, I'm told, and there'll be food that evening, there'll be a cash bar, and there'll be audience members who are trying to sleuth out who's done it. Sounds like a good time. And so starting in the fall then, they'll put on 4 full shows a year here. It's an exciting time. Our little community is growing and the performing arts are growing right along with it. So again, thank you for your support. That's the good news. now for the bad news. You know Murphy? So Murphy hates people that do what we do for fun or a living. And if anything can go wrong, it will. What's happened to us tonight is a member of our cast who was supposed to be here has had something come up and can't be. John Lennon, right, said that life's what happens when you're making other plans. So he's where he needs to be, but it's put us in a bit of a panic. Apparently we've been in the back for the last little bit, in a bit of a blind panic, trying to figure out what to do about it. And one of the cast members has had inspiration, I hope. We'll see. Panic will induce that sometimes. So we thought we might come out here and throw ourselves on the mercy of the audience. We're looking for a male character with a kind of a deep voice, because one of the characters that we're supposed to be covering tonight is a gentleman named Lieutenant Bradshaw. Lieutenant Bradshaw is kind of a hard-scrabble detective of the Los Angeles streets. So it's a big voice, big person. It may not be the night you thought you were going to come out to have. Gentlemen, Billy, Dave, can you bring the lights up for me? They can see me, but oh, hello, there you are. And not to point you out any more than I already did.
Oh
no. When you came in, I thought I heard something. Say your name, please.
Tony Bowman.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Tony, we promise not to hurt you. Not very much. Anyway, Reader's Theater, and you're here by yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, so Reader's Theater has this other quality. Typically, the performers have their scripts right in front of them, and with a radio show like we're doing tonight, that's the case. I just need somebody who can kind of fill up space and has a deep, resonant voice like you do, and I can tell you've got a great instrument in it. You don't want to do this. Can everybody give him can we give him a little encouragement? hero. All right, thank you very much. However this comes out, there's a bench in heaven with your name on it. Okay?
Okay.
So now I heard your name, but let me start with that because I'm not sure everybody else did. Say it again, please.
It's Tony Bowman.
Yeah, can you hear what I'm hearing, folks? That's right. Listen, what do you do for a living, Tony?
I'm a writer.
Really? What kind of things do you write?
I write horror and science fiction.
Oh, really? I'm kind of fans of that. Yeah. Where would we find your stuff? Is it online?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Okay, so instant karma. Thank you for coming up here. Tony Bowman, right? Amazon, buy his books. Okay. No, I mean, that's marvelous. Well, it's no coincidence. As I say, I heard your voice coming through the door. One of the cast members came out, told me what had happened. So I immediately started thinking about you. So that's why I came over and said something to you earlier. Thank you very much. So the person you're replacing is named Anthony. And do you ever go by Anthony?
No.
No? Well, all right. I thought it was kind of perfect, actually, Tony replacing Anthony. But anyway, have you ever done any radio before?
Oh, no.
You've not. All right. Well, as I say, you're going to have a script. You've got 6 people backstage that already are in love with you because you're saving our tookus, right, tonight. And so if I may, what I'm going to do is just send you, they're back there warming up their voices. And I think, actually, hold on, wait a minute. Folks, you're being very patient with us. This happens sometimes. Apologize for the delay, but I just got to brainstorm. Bear with me. Hey, folks, you want to meet a great human being? Yes. Yeah, come on out here and say hi to Tony Bowman.
Hi.
This is the guy.
Hi.
Thank goodness he came tonight.
Hi.
So listen, folks, so in radio, right, one of the things that radio performers, singers, and other performers do is when they count on their voice as an instrument, they've got to get it warmed up. So rather than have them go backstage and do it, I think we'll just do this out here. It'll make, Tony, you'll feel a little more supported, yes? Vocal warm-ups? All right.
All right.
In fact, why don't you all leave the lights up for me? Why don't you all join us in this? It's actually not a bad skill to have. If you ever get called upon to be on your hind legs or, you know, at the Rotary Club, whatever it is, learning to warm up your voice, that's not a bad thing. And so, folks, we're just going to start. Here's how we do it. All right? So you get to peek behind the curtain. First thing we do is loosen our lips up. And to do that, we do what we used to do in kindergarten, some of us. The motorboat sound. Ready? So just do this. That's great. Just loosen them up. You look silly, but it's just right. Yeah, good. Very nice. And just wipe off the back of the person's lip. That'd be great. So, all right, so we get the lips loosened up, and then the next thing we want to do is we want to bring our voice forward. That's how they talk about it. Because some of our voices are kind of back here in our throats. But when you're in broadcasting, particularly, you need to have your voice forward. So the way we do it, we're going to do a Y buzz. Okay, Tony, this is called a Y buzz. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our lips together, almost completely together. But instead of doing the full motorboat this time, we're just going to make a sound of a Y, which, interestingly enough, sounds like this. It's like a razor going off in your mouth. And you keep that up long enough, the end of your nose starts to actually itch. Well done. All right, now, I'm going to have you do the same thing. We're going to do the same thing, only we're going to make the E sound, because the Y actually produces kind of an E sound. So it's like this. Now you take your teeth apart a little bit. And we're going to say a word that starts with Y. Ready? And did you feel like mine just slipped? I just felt my voice slip forward. It's up here now. Yellow.
Yellow.
Yeah, very nice.
Yellow.
And how about
Yes.
Yes. Oh, good. See, now we're talking over your heads like the people in the back row. You can talk right over our heads. And what you can do is you can go, hello. 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 All right, so the lips are loosed up. The voice hopefully is shifted forward in your mouth a little bit. Next thing we want to do is kind of open and wide our jaw. To do that, we just do our ABCs, but we do them kind of goofy. Big, wide-mouthed frog ABCs. Ready? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. We can still remember them. Give us a... All right, yeah. Let's see you do it in one breath. Ready?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. And now the last thing is just to get the tongue tripping a little bit. We're going to do a couple of tongue twisters. Here's one that can get you in trouble if you're on the radio. Most steel ships.
Most steel ships
are twin screw cruisers.
are twin screw
A little
cruisers.
faster. Most steel ships
Most steel ships
are twin screw cruisers.
are twin screw cruisers.
Most steel ships.
Most steel ships are twin steel cruisers.
See how easy it is? All right, how about this one? I know men in the ranks.
I know men in the
Who
ranks
will stay in the ranks.
who will stay in the ranks.
Why?
Why?
Simply because they know how to get things done.
Simply because they know how to get things done.
I know men in the ranks.
I know men in the
Who
ranks
will stay in the ranks.
who will stay in the ranks.
Why?
Why?
Simply because they know how to get things done.
Simply because they know how to get things
One
done.
more time. I know men in the ranks.
I know men in the ranks.
Who will stay in the ranks.
Who will stay in the ranks. Why?
Simply because they know how to get things done. Simply
Because they know how to get things done.
Well done. And that is to tune up the instrument. So, Tony, are you feeling warmed up? Warmed up?
No.
All right, so do you need a mic level on Tony? All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the gain on this. So at one point, Lieutenant Bradshaw, which is one of the characters that we're going to get you ready to play tonight, he confronts this crook, this nefarious crook on the streets of Los Angeles and has to get him under control using simply the power of his voice.
All right.
Can you do a deep kind of a growl?
Guess.
Okay, all right. Well, so I'll just count to three. Give us your best growl, okay?
All right.
1, 2, 3. Folks, take him on back if you would. Get him his stuff. Would you give him a copy of the script and some of the props, and that's great. Also, make sure he gets the liability form. All right. Well, listen, thank you for that. That was a little unexpected, but I appreciate you being here. We'll get started in just about 2 minutes.
Wait a minute.
And
Liability for? What are you talking about?
there's a gun.
What?
It's a small gun.
Dude, what?
Be right with
Come
you.
on.
No, we've never killed anybody yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Hubert Heaver.
That particular flub is considered the granddaddy of all bloopers. Delivered by Mr. Harry Von Zell over the air in 1931. There was no 7-second delay back in those days, so whatever went into the microphone went out over the air into people's homes with regrettable, if sometimes hilarious, consequences. Poor Harry, for instance. Never lived that one down. Later on, broadcasts went out after a delay so that if necessary, somebody in the studio could hit a panic button, cutting off the broadcast and saving the audience at home from hearing anything they shouldn't have. Saved a few sponsors, too. Well, for instance,
Bergdorf's department store is having a great sale on women's large-size bathing suits. Ladies, now you can buy a bathing suit for a ridiculous figure.
Gentlemen, make sure to purchase your next suit from Belvedere's Men's Clothiers. Remember Belvedere, where prices are high and quality is low.
even the Bulova Watch Company wasn't immune from such hiccups. I mean, their commercial was used as the standard time signal. However, as they say, they weren't immune, as evidenced by this particular announcer's attempt to read the Bulova commercial while confusing it with another one for women's shoes.
Bulova, Bulova Watch Time. This Christmas, buy her the new Bulova Ambassador, designed for elegance, sure to please, and curved to fit the foot. The time is now 7:45 p.m.
Curved to fit the foot.
This portion of Petticoat Junction is brought to you by the American Home Company, makers of fine products for your can. Or rather, by the American Can Company, makers of fine products for your home.
Ladies, does your husband wake up in the morning feeling lustless? Listless?
Well, we here at the Holly Springs Readers Theater Troupe think that old panic button was actually sort of a shame. The tension that radio and eventually TV performers felt, knowing they were live, knowing that a slip of a tongue could cost them their jobs or even their careers, made for much more exciting entertainment in our humble opinion. And so, tonight, courtesy of our sponsors, August Brothers Bread, August Brothers for the best bread you can buy, we're going to take you on a trip into the not-so-distant past and present to you some of the world's greatest slip-ups, the best goofs, the biggest boners ever to go out over the air. We begin with veteran announcer Lowell Thomas.
Lowell, do you have a few more unforgettable words for us?
This is Lowell Thomas and the news. Maybe you've heard about a new book called Diet or Die. Author Mrs. Celeste Geyer, perhaps better known to millions of carnival fans as the one-time Dolly Dimples. Remember, the world's most beautiful fat lady? That was the billing Mrs. Geyer used when she weighed 555 pounds. Count them, 555 pounds. Now, a svelte 122, she tells in her book how she did it, following the advice of a doctor who told her after a near fatal heart attack to diet or die. The secret to effective weight loss is massive willpower, says Mrs. Geyer, adding that her own willpower was strengthened by... Well, anyhow, how she said that her fat friends from carnival life died at an early age and were later buried from the back of a truck. Those were her own words. Why a truck? Because, said Mrs. Geyer, they were too big for a hearse.
And so long until Monday, Lowell. Stay tuned each evening at this same time for the distinctive news reports of Lowell Thomas.
And that's how it sometimes happened. Even a veteran announcer would get the giggles at times, and just like the rest of us, couldn't get it back under control. Of course, it wasn't always the announcer's fault. Sometimes continuity writers were to blame for text that ran over onto another page, creating unfortunate pauses.
Tums will give you instant relief and assure you no indigestion or distress during the night. So try Tums and go to bed with a broad smile.
Hey, who typed this up?
Here at Cunningham's Dry Cleaning and 1 Hour Martinizing, ladies who care to drive by and drop off their clothes will receive prompt attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this news bulletin to bring you a program.
Now, as we get ready for the feature race here at Monmouth Racetrack in New Jersey, it looks very much today, in the opinion of the experts, that it's going to be a very, very close contest between Dolly Jane and that beautiful new horse, Harass. Now, just a minute, hold on, race fans. I've just noticed here that Harass is not going to run. Remember now, Harass is not going to run. When you're at the betting window, remember to scratch Harass.
Well, you can see how the trouble starts. Man on the street interviews were always ripe for the picking, as evidenced by this woman on the street example.
Pardon me, ma'am. What do you do for a living?
I'm a maid. I do housework, and I take care of a large family.
How large a family?
Well, let's see. There are 4 boys, 3 girls, 1 adult, and 1 adulteress.
Uh-huh. And then there were the kids' shows.
One lesson an announcer learns is to make sure that he's completely off the air before he makes any private comments. But even the greatest sometimes slip. A legend is Uncle Don's remark after he signed off his famous children's program.
Good night, little friends. Good night. This is Uncle Don saying good night to all my little friends.
He thought his mic was cut off when he added,
Are we off? I guess that ought to hold the little bastards.
On Strike It Rich, a popular children's television program produced by Walt Framer, Warren Hall, master of ceremonies, was interviewing a 5-year-old child whose father was serving in the United States Army in Korea. She wanted to strike it rich for a larger bed and a bigger apartment. And when asked why, she responded,
Well, my daddy's in the war in Korea, and every weekend when my Uncle Charlie comes over, they make me sleep on a cot in the kitchen. But he's not really my Uncle Charlie.
and that gets funnier the more you think about it, because you know that Mom had contacted every friend and neighbor and family member and said, Susie's going to be on TV this afternoon. And when the little girl got home,
Mommy? Mommy?
Mommy had moved. Some of our favorites are the radio dramas involving multiple performers with not so perfectly timed sound effects.
Okay, you rat, I've got you covered, and now I'm going to drill you. Take that! Okay, now I'm really going to drill you. Take that! On second thought, I'm going to take this knife and slit your throat.
Bang! Bang!
Get her, get her. The sound effects lady had discovered her problem. How about this dramatic scene inside of a jail cell?
How long you in for?
20 years.
20 years? So, what you in for?
Robbery.
Armed robbery. How'd you get caught?
Some dirty squeal pigeon stooled on me.
A Midwest radio station advised their citizens about the prize winners of their annual farm contest.
And here they are. Final results of the FFA contest are apple picking won by Dick Jones, tractor driving award to Jack Davis, and one of our own girls, Miss Betty Smith, was chosen as the best hoer.
Yeah. Old-time radio was full of call-in programs, too, about all manner of human relations, especially marriage.
And what is your problem, ma'am? Speak right up into your telephone.
Well, my problem is this, Mr. Anthony. My husband, he isn't talking to me or having anything to do with me since his business fell off. Good morning, ladies. I'm awfully glad you're with us this morning because we have a very special recipe that we want you to be sure to prepare over the weekend. Well, it's something that I'm sure will surprise your husband, and it's called frickin' chickasee. I beg your pardon. It's chicken fricassee.
We're here at Washington's National Airport awaiting the arrival of our very distinguished guests, the King and Queen of England. When they arrive, you'll hear a 21 son galoot.
man wasn't exempt from such flubs.
And that's a weather report from the International Airport here at Anchorage, Alaska. Now we'll take a leak out the window to see if it's freezing outside our studio.
Or even a simple public service announcement.
Evening Melodies is heard 1 hour earlier if your community is on Eastern Standard Time. 1 hour later if, well, there's a 2-hour difference in some cities that would, oh, hell with it.
And such was the life in old-time radio and television. But as we said, such occurrences are much less common now that the 7-second delay is in place. So it was a bit of reverence and a tip to their predecessors, a tip of the hat, that our predecessors, the Fire Sign Theater Troupe, radio performers in Los Angeles, over radio stations KPPC-FM and KPFK-AM back in the mid-1960s, began doing on-the-air send-ups of earlier radio days. One of their most famous programs, which eventually made it onto long-playing vinyl, remember those? Involved a tip of the fedora to earlier radio detective programs. And now you remember, this is the 60s. This is the counterculture. They were poking fun at the entertainment that their folks had listened to just 20 years earlier. And so it was detective programs like Mr. Keen, Tracer of Lost Persons, and The Shadow, and even an early young Jack Webb on the radio, playing Johnny Maduro, Pier 23. They're all rolled together into one clever detective strolling the streets of Los Angeles in the fictional 1920s and 30s, a clever chap named Nick Danger. But the founders and the performers of Fire Sign Theater never intended to play it straight. They filled their 30-minute detective drama with all sorts of contemporary, well, for 1960s, contemporary references, with apologies to the Beatles and a nod and a wink to a few of the people who were drinking and smoking the devil's weed, marijuana. However, as we say, it was an attempt to point a jaundiced finger and a plastic gun in the direction of old-time radio. And some of the traditions, some people say silly traditions of how we used to entertain ourselves. For those of us who love it, though, traditions all too recently gone, all too soon forgotten. As it said in your program, and we say to you tonight, it's when men were men, radio was live, and sponsors were afraid. And on behalf of our sponsors, once again, August Brothers Bread and Rolls, people that know they're baking bread say August all year round. We would like to take you with all rude respect. No, I just did it, didn't I? See how easy it is. All due respect, we would like to present for you the further adventures of Nick Danger. Over our network, the Columbia Broadcasting Corporation.
Hey, everybody. What's going on? Hey, can we get some power down here? Perfect, thanks.
Los Angeles. He walks again by night. Out of the fog into the smog. Relentlessly. Ruthlessly.
I wonder where Ruth is.
Doggedly.
Ruff, ruff.
Toward his weekly meeting with the unknown. At 4th and Drucker, he turns left. At Drucker and 4th, he turns right. He crosses MacArthur Park and walks into a great sandstone building.
Oh, my nose!
Groping for the door, he steps inside. Climbs the 13 steps to his office. He walks in. He's ready for mystery. He's ready for excitement. He's ready for anything. He's...
Nick Danger, third eye.
I want to order a pizza to go and, no anchovies.
No anchovies? You've got the wrong man. I spelled my name Danger.
What?
The makers of fantastic cigarettes, long on the leaf and short in the can, bring you another true story from the tattered casebook of Nick Danger, Third Eye. Let's join them now in an adventure we call
Cut Him Off at the Past.
Let's get down to business. Uncross those beautiful stems of yours, baby. Here's the case I call number 666. It all began innocently enough on Tuesday. I was sitting in my office on that drizzly afternoon, listening to the melodious staccato of rain on my desktop and reading my name on the glass of the office door. Regnad Basil. My secretary lay snoring on the floor, her long, beautiful gams pinioned under the couch. I didn't hear him enter, but my nostrils flared at the smell of his perfume, Pyramid Patchouli. There was only one joker in L.A. sensitive enough to wear that scent, and I had to find out who he was.
Good afternoon, Mr. Danger. I'm Rocky Rococo.
Thanks, Half Pint. You just saved me a lot of investigative work.
Maybe yes, maybe no. Do you know what this is?
I had to think for a minute. What cruel game was he playing? That's a brown paper bag.
That's correct. Now look inside, Mr. Danger. What do you see?
That's easy. That's a pickle.
Very good. Now I think you're ready for this.
Why, that's nothing but a 2-bit ring from a crackerback jocks.
I'll sell it to you for $5,000.
Ha! What kind of chump do you take me for?
You're first class.
That tarnished piece of tin is worthless.
Worthless? No, not the Melanie Haber.
Melanie Haber?
You may remember her as Audrey Farmer.
Audrey Farber?
Susan Underhill.
Susan Underhill?
How about Betty Jo Belosky?
Betty Jo Belosky. I hadn't heard that name since college. Everyone knew her as Nancy. Then it all came rushing back to me like the hot kiss at the end of a wet fist. It was pig night at the Om Mani Padme Sigma house. We had escaped from the crowd and stood trembling under the dwarf maples.
Oh, Nikki! Why, I don't know what to say. This is the most beautiful ring I've ever seen.
Yeah, Nancy, it's really neat. It cost me $5,000.
Oh, Nikki, how can I ever repay you?
Well, gee whiz, Nancy. How about $500 down and a 36-month contract?
What?
Or you could marry me.
That's impossible, Nick. I can't marry you. I can't even tell you why. Maybe someday.
All right, Nancy. I understand. Sign here.
Oh, Nick, I'll never forgive you.
And I'll never forget you neither, Nancy.
And that's why I called you today, Nancy. I mean, Mrs. Haber. Something reminded me of that time so long ago under the dwarf maples.
I don't know what prompted you to get in touch with me, but you called just in the nick of time.
You haven't lost your delicate sense of humor, have you, Nancy?
What? Nick, I can't talk to you now. You have to get here right away. My husband, it's the same old place in Santa Barbara. Nicky, hurry, Nicky. I need you. I can't.
Nancy! I slipped the ring into my nose and the receiver into my pocket and headed for the door quickly, but I'd forgotten the little man with the evil grin.
Just a second, Danger. What about my pickle?
You're lucky you still have your brown paper bag, small change.
Danger, you haven't seen the last of me.
No, but the first of you turns my stomach.
You'll be hearing from me again, Danger.
I headed down the hall in the opposite direction toward the fire escape. I hadn't a moment to lose.
Hey, Danger. Where's the fire?
In your eyes, Lieutenant Bradshaw.
Don't get wise with me, Peeper. You're lucky we didn't burn you on that Anselmo pederasty case.
Look, you caught him, didn't you?
Yeah, but the punk got away, no thanks to you.
Well, what brings your flat feet sniffing around here now, copper?
Just a friendly word of advice, Danger.
Yeah? What?
Don't go sticking your big nose into police business.
Sure, Lieutenant. Is that all?
No. Don't talk with your mouth full.
Okay, Bradshaw.
And don't fidget while I talk to you.
Sure, Lieutenant.
And stop tracking mud across my nice clean floor.
Okay. When I hit the street, the rain had already turned L.A. into a mud river. It was a short swim down Alvarado to my convertible. I had to get to Santa Barbara in a big hurry. As I whipped onto Mulholland Drive, the lights were just blinking on across the San Bernardino Valley. I could barely make them out through the driving rain. Then a hard right down Big Chicunga Canyon. My tires squealed as I hit Sepulveda. A right, a left, a left, a left, another right, a left to the body, a right to the head, and into a gas station. Hey, Pop!
All right. Hold your horses, I'm coming. Yeah?
Where am I?
You can't get there from here.
But I'm looking for the same old place.
Oh, you must mean the old same place, Sonny. It's right out back. Here's the key.
4 hours later, I parked my car in the carriage house and walked up the gray gravel driveway between a line of dwarf maples toward the pillared entrance of the same mansion. It had been snowing in Santa Barbara ever since the top of the page, and I had to shake the cornstarch off my mucklucks as I lifted the heavy obsidian door knocker. Hey in there! Open up! Your door knocker fell off!
What's all this brouhaha?
Brouhaha? Hey, wait a minute. Don't you want this door knocker?
I already have one.
But this is yours.
You see, I told you. We used to have another one, but he vanished mysteriously. All right. Coming out of the cornstarch and dry your nutbucks by the fire. Let me introduce myself. I am Nick the Danger.
No, let me introduce myself. I am Nick Danger.
Well, if you're so smart, why don't you pick up your cues faster?
Are those my cues?
Yes, and they must be dry by now. Why don't you pull them up out of the cellophane before they scorch? All right, sir. Now, may I take your hat and goat?
Yes.
I assume you've come to see my mistress, Mr. Danger.
I don't care about your private life or what his name is. I've come to see Nancy, Mrs. Haber.
Mrs. Haber?
Audrey Farber.
Audrey Farber?
How about Betty Jo Bielowski?
Oh, you mean Nancy? Well, she's out in the aviary studying trees. I shall return with her straight away. You may wait here in the sitting room or sit here in the waiting room.
There was something fishy about the butler. I think he was a Pisces, probably working for Scale. I felt a thin shiver run up my spine as I sat down on the cold marble floor.
Woo!
What was it about this place? The atmosphere was as phony as the Tudor balustrade that leered at me from the top of the staircase. And there she stood, radiant, all those curves showing through that flimsy burnoose.
Nick!
It was Nancy running down the stairs. All the familiar sounds and smells of pig night came rushing back like a good snort of scotch. Then it struck me. 20 years later, and she still knocked me out.
Oh, Nicky! Nicky, wake up! Are you all right? Are you all right, Nicky?
Where am I? Yes?
Then stop slapping me!
Oh, no, Nancy. What's the bird's eye lowdown on this caper? Whatever that means.
Nick, we can't talk here.
What do you mean?
We can't talk here.
Oh, yeah, you're
We
right.
can't
We can't.
talk here.
What should we do?
Follow me. This way. Ah, this is much better. We're in the chapel now. It's soundproof, so no one
What
can
did
hear
you
us.
say?
I said no one can...
What?
Oh, never mind. Follow me.
What?
Here, take my hand. This way. Ah, this is much better.
Yeah, huh? Pretty fancy layout you got here, Nancy. What's this, you boudoir?
Oh, no. These are the kennels.
Putting on the dog, eh? Say, where are all the doggies?
They've mysteriously disappeared.
Oh, yeah?
I just said that. Along with all the servants, they were very attached to one another.
Where?
At the wrist and ankles?
Wait a minute. You said all the servants had disappeared.
Did I?
What about your butler?
Oh, you mean Catherwood?
Yes, madam.
Oh, Catherwood. You startled me.
I'm sorry, madam.
What are you doing there on all fours?
I'm looking for my script. Why don't you just go on without me?
Listen, Nancy, I smell a rat.
So do I. I think he's got my script.
Listen, Catherine,
This is
why
awful.
don't you go look for it, all right?
You.
All right, madam. Mousy, mousy, mousy.
Oh, quickly, Nicky, through this sacred panel over here. This way.
All right.
This
is the portrait gallery. This is the portrait.
There's an echo in here. This is the portrait gallery, Nick. It's the safest room in the mansion. No one can find us here.
All right, Nancy. Get your hands off me! What's the scoop?
A chocolate, butterscotch, or Rocky Road?
That reminded me. How had she gotten herself involved with that slimy weasel Rococo? And how do I make my voice do this?
Oh, Nick. It all began 20 years ago with the mysterious disappearance of my husband.
You mean you were already married when I sold you that ring? No wonder she hadn't been able to meet the payments.
What?
So that was your secret. Oh, what a sap I've been.
Oh, yes. But that night, the strangest thing happened.
That usually goes along with being just married.
My husband, Johnny, Oh, Nicky, I want to tell you the horrible truth. The whole truth. All of it. The man behind everything.
Tea, madam.
Let me handle this, Nancy. Far out, Catherwood. Just roll a couple of bombers and leave them on the side table.
Yes, madam. Oh, I say, pardon me, madam. I seem to have crashed. It's been such a long exposition, you know. I'm so tired.
Catherwood.
Yes, sir?
Catherwood, can't you see that you're upsetting Nancy? Leave us alone.
Well, how much would you like, sir? 500, 1,000?
And Scray, Astrid Bay.
Of course, sir. Cuckoo, cachoo.
Gesundheit.
Yes, I'm so tired. I haven't slept a week.
All right, Nancy, go on with your story. Start with your dreadful secret.
Oh, Nick, I can't. I'm so confused.
Oh, well, why don't you just put your thumb next to your
Oh.
line, see, like this? This way I don't get confused. I never lose my place.
I feel faint. The whole world is spinning.
Well, that's lucky for us, Nancy. If it were flat, all the Chinese would fall off. Why, she's no fun. She fell right over. Wait a minute. Didn't I say that line on the other side of the record? Where am I? I better check. It's okay. They're speaking Chinese. Poor Nancy. She's fainted. I'll just wrap her skirt around her head like this to keep her warm. Now I'll press her body close to mine to keep me warm. She looked so helpless there, spread eagle on the floor. I beat the eagle off and gave her a quick mouth-to-mouth resuscitation job. And then it struck me. What a sap she had!
Good girl, Nancy. That ought to hold him for a while.
Oh, poor Nicky. He's bleeding. I'll tear this strip off my petticoat.
Sure, if you want to.
There. You tie him up with this. I'll go through his pockets.
Be careful. Don't wake him up.
That contract must be on him somewhere.
Oh, Audrey.
You fuse!
What?
Haven't you found the contract yet? Your time is almost up.
Rococo, you slimy blackmailer. How did you get in here? You don't have a key.
No, only half a key.
What?
I had to split it with the sound effects ladies.
Thanks, Rocky.
Where's the contract, you absent-minded old frog?
Wait a minute. Here it is. I found it. It was taped to his leg.
Give me that. I got it at last.
All right. Now, maybe you'll leave us in peace, Rococo. Give me the negative.
Of course. Here it is.
At last. Now we're out of your evil clutches.
Dan, wait a minute. Look at this negative. It isn't us. It's an interesting approach, but it isn't us.
Yeah, she's right. What are you trying to pull on me, Rococo?
Oh, my goodness, I must have sent the wrong negative to the police. I mean, I must have left yours in the car. I'll go get it.
Just a second, Rococo. You're not going nowhere until you've explained what you've done with that filthy piece of blackmail.
Are you threatening me? Why, you stupid toad! I ought to beat your brain out!
No! Put down that pickle!
You'll never get away with this, Rococo.
Oh, yeah? Did you ever see Casablanca? Half a Key Largo?
The thick veil of pain lifted enough for me to eyeball the situation. Rococo, that sleazy weasel. How did he get in here, and what was he doing with that pickle in one hand and my contract in the other? I had no choice. Nancy and the old butler were frozen with terror. I struggled quietly to my feet and flung myself headfirst at Rococo's stomach.
Oh, thank you. You saved our lives.
This ain't no time for ticker tape parades, baby. Get me out of these ropes and into a good belt of scotch.
Let me, hold that contract for you, Mr. Danger.
I'll keep that contract, Catherwood, but you can take this pickle off my hands.
No, I think you better hold on to that, Nick.
Good thinking, sweetheart. Lieutenant Bradshaw will need all the evidence he can get.
Yes. And you should stick around too, Danger. You can, help put all the pieces together, you know.
Right.
No, I left.
I felt like I was being kicked in the head by the whole chorus line at Minsky's. So Nancy was in on this caper. I felt myself going under. The biggest long shot Louis at Hialeah wouldn't put a fin on my fate now. This time something told me I was out for lunch. I even began to hear things.
I'll never forgive you, Nick.
Keep your nose out of police business, Danger.
May I take your hat and go, sir?
What about my pickle?
We'll be back to Nick Danger after this message.
All right, hold it right where you are. I'm Lieutenant Bradshaw with a piece of advice for you. Now, here in the studio, it's all knuckles and know-how. But when that red light goes off, I'm just plain Harry Ames, citizen and weekend father.
Good night, Harry.
Now, take a tip from a cop who does. Radio work can be just as dirty as exciting as hunting down public enemy number one. So when I get home, my old lady knows what I need and how. A warm, heaping bowl full of looseners, castor oil flakes with real glycerin vibrafoam. It doesn't just wash your mouth out, it cleans the whole system right on down the line. So come on, you little rookies. Tell your mom to get on it and do it every day. Just remember what the boys down at the precinct house sing.
Oh, it ain't no use if you ain't got the boost you get from looseners. Looseners.
The all-weather breakfast. And now we return you to Act 3 of Nick Danger, Third Eye.
When the crazy escalator ride ended, I fought my way back up to the land of the living. I came to, slumped over the front seat of my own car, lying in a pool of cheap rot gut. I had a head full of ideas that were driving me insane and a mouth full of cotton candy.
You want some more cotton candy, Danger? It might sober you up.
Oh, my head. Bradshaw, baby.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be glad to see your ugly mug.
Save the wisecracks for the warden, Danger. I got you this time, and I got you good.
What are you talking about?
Get out of that car.
Hey, come on!
You can stand up and keep your hands high. I got you covered.
Hey, what's this all about, Bradshaw? You know I never carry a rod.
Yeah, but it's murder what some people can do with a car, and I got witnesses to prove it.
Oh, there's the man. Keep me away from him. He did it.
Take it easy, little lady.
I don't know why you're doing this, Nancy, but it doesn't change my feelings about you.
Oh, Nick, you're such a tool. He did it!
All right. Take it easy, little lady. All right, let's get these facts straight. Take this down, Henderson. Okay, Professor, how did it happen?
Well, Sergeant...
Lieutenant.
Mrs. Faber and I were sitting right here in the living room, engaged in a friendly round of spin the pickle, weren't we, dear?
Yes!
with our good friend, Mr. Rococo.
He did it!
Yes, and then suddenly the door flew open and this drunken man right here drove in honking wildly and headed straight for us.
He's lying.
Can it, Danger? Continue.
Yes, and at the last possible moment, he stopped on a dime.
I see.
Unfortunately, that dime was in Mr. Rococo's pocket.
I'm gonna break your neck, Catherwood. Let me at him!
All right. Hold it, Danger. I've heard enough. We'll get the rest of the story down at the station house from you. I've been waiting for this for years.
Wise up, Bradshaw.
Week in and week out.
I didn't do it.
Playing second fiddle while you got all the girls.
Come on.
Well, I'm tired of being Mr. Nice Guy, see? There's going to be some changes made. Next week, this show is going to be called...
Sergeant Bradshaw.
Lieutenant.
District Attorney.
I'm going to have my own theme music. And it's going to take place in Washington, D.C. No plots. Just girls and guys doing nice, simple things up against Nazis and fifth columnists. No Jewish writers either.
I saw my chance and I took it. Bradshaw would never listen to my story now. It had more holes in it than Albert Hall. My only way out was like this. All right, hold it, everybody. Catherwood, stop it. I've got Bradshaw's rod pressed against Nancy's temple. Now you spill the beans or I'll blow her brain out.
Oh, my. I think you're bluffing, Flatfoot. No, you aren't bluffing.
All right, talk.
It all began 20 years ago. I was a freshman in college then, although you wouldn't hardly believe it to look at me now. I had just completed work on my science project, and I invited Nancy down to reveal the secret to her. Well, this is it, Nancy. How do you like it?
So this is where you've been every night since we got married. Oh, Nicky.
Sure is. That's Danny, but don't say it. Nancy, I know it's been hard, but I wanted to give you the swellest honeymoon a girl ever had. We're going to Greece.
And swim the English Channel?
No, to ancient Greece, where burning Sappho loved and sang and stroked the wine-dark sea and the temple by the moonlight. Wah-da-doo-da.
What?
Don't you see, Nancy? I've built the perfect time machine.
Oh, it sounds dangerous.
Yes. That's why I'm going to try it out first now. Now, when I get into this grandfather clock, you hit me over the head with this bottle of champagne right here.
Okay.
Then set the dial back for 1,000 and put in 3 dimes. I'll be gone for 1,000 years.
1,000? That's longer than anyone's ever been gone before.
But to you, it'll only seem like a minute. Fare thee well, my love. Forward into the past.
Gee, I hope he gets back before all this dry ice melts. Who's there?
Mrs. Haber?
Who's that?
I'm Rocky Rococo. You might have seen me loitering around the drugstore, drinking chocolate malted falcons and giving away free high school.
Well, what are you doing here? What do you want?
I'm here for a friend, Mrs. Haber. If you sign a contract, you're supposed to keep up the payments.
Oh, you must be a friend of Nick's.
Yes.
He couldn't want his money already. He only gave me the ring last night. I'm wearing it, see?
Yes, that's a very pretty hand there.
Ow!
Oh, Nancy, it's a success. I'm back. I have proof. I've been to ancient Greece. Look at this grape.
Who are you, old man, and what have you done with my husband?
What do you mean, Nancy? I am your husband.
Oh!
Who's that ugly dwarf with his hand in your mouth?
Rocky Rococo, at your cervix.
All right, Catherwood, I've heard just enough.
What? Wait, listen. I'm telling this story, young man. What are you doing in my flashback?
Flashback? What are you talking? Flashback? Oh, all right, all of you. You stay right where you are. Put your thumbs on your place in the script while I figure this out.
So that was her horrible secret. Poor Nancy, married to a man 1,000 years old. Now I understand why the servants disappeared. It was Catherwood who killed Rococo to protect his wife, my Betty Jo.
What is he talking to? How does he make his voice do that?
All right, Bradshaw, there's your confession. I hope you got it all down. Bradshaw? Bradshaw? Oh, that's right. He's not in this flashback. Oh, I'll skip ahead of... no, I can't skip ahead. All right, everybody into the time machine.
Wait a minute. No. You don't understand how radio works. Now, this is my flashback. All I have to do to return us to the present is fade my voice out like this and cue the organist. And you see, here we are. Oh my goodness.
What's happening? My scene double? There are two of everyone except me.
Pandemonium was breaking out all around me. Wait a minute. Who are you? I was here first, you imposter. Take that.
Why, that's terrible.
You keep away from him, you young hussy.
Who are you calling a young hussy, you old bag?
Why, I dare you to talk to me like that.
I can talk to me any way I like to.
What nerve? I'm not new, you. You're me 20 years ago.
Oh, why, you've got a lot of nerve saying I'm going to look like that in 20 years.
Oh, yeah?
There ain't
room enough in this dress for the both of us.
Well, this is a bit of fun, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly is fun. Glad to have someone around age to talk to after all these years.
Yeah, why don't you sing a song together?
Well, I've forgotten the key.
Oh, that's all right. I've got to live up to the top. Somewhere over the rainbow.
Stop it! Stop singing, you fools! Can't you see someone has been crushed here into this car? Oh my God, it's me. I don't look at all well. I'm dead. I've been killed. Oh, it hasn't happened to me since M.
I did a quick 20/20 on the whole scene. I thought that I was the only one going insane, but now we were all in this together. I knew what I had to do. I didn't like it, but that never stopped me before. All right, everybody, take off your...
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this scheduled transmission to bring you an announcement of national importance from the White House in Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
My fellow Americans, this morning at 6:25 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, combined elements of the Imperial Japanese Navy and Air Forces ruthlessly attacked our naval base at Pearl Harbor in the Hawaiian Islands. I have conferred this morning with Congress and the Chiefs of Staff in emergency session. We have reached our rendezvous with destiny. It is our unanimous and irrevocable decision that the United States of America unconditionally surrender. And now my wife and I would like to return with you for the thrilling conclusion of Private Nick Danger, Third Eye.
Well, I've solved another one for you.
Danger, I'll never know how you do it. I was sure I had the goods on you this time.
Well, Bradshaw, it's like in the Army, you know. The great prince issues commands, founds states, vests families with fiefs. Inferior people should not be employed.
Nick, I can't knock success, but you still put me through too many changes.
The makers of Looseners Castor Oil Flakes and Fantastic Cigarettes, Looseners for the smile of beauty, Fantastics for the smile of success, have brought you the transcribed adventures of Nick Danger, Third Eye. Tune in again next week, same time, same station, when Nick Danger meets the Arab.
Cue the bread commercial!
Folks who know their baking bread say August all year round.
Yes, friends, August Brothers for the breast bread. Whoops. Well, it had to happen someday, folks. Sorry about that. Anyway, come on down to August Brothers for their delicious potato bread, their wonderful pumpernickel, and their authentic, real Bohemian Jewish rye bread. And remember, folks, it's August Brothers for the best bet. Okay, one more time. For the breast, heck with it.